The big question is, how did you do it?
I think it starts in the mind, you know. I just wanted to do it, and I was determined to do it, and I went all in to understand the market as well, and the competition, and the people, their spending habits, and how they like things.
How important to have somebody like that in a business if we want to grow?
Well, unless you could do it yourself, having the executor or the operational people is amazing. Like, you know, it's a good team, like you say. It works really, really well. Yeah, and they like that. That's what they do best, you know? So if everyone does their role best and you could fit those roles, it's definitely good synergy.
All right, Rio. Welcome once again to the Montreal Entrepreneur Podcast. It's an honor to have you here sitting in front of me. You have accomplished so much. But for those who don't know who you are, please introduce yourself and tell us some of your accomplishments, you know?
Yeah, well, hi, Cathy. It's nice to meet you and nice to be here, and thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to share some of my past experiences. I'm Rio Infantino, and I think you over-embellish what I've done. But yeah, it's I was in restaurant industry for the last like 25 years, I guess. And I got into it, when I was very young, and I liked the space a lot, and I got into fine dining, and finally I said I'm going to go work for McDonald's, and I did 1 year there, and I learned a lot. And then I started with Subway, and I was one of the first when Subway came to Quebec. It was really fascinating. It was a really good and growing chain, and from there I just leapfrogged to start a chain called Copper Branch. And that was a vegan chain, which was a little different. And, we tried to have that chain be more appealing to mainstream people who enjoy eating meat and wanted to be more like flexitarian. Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah.
And with Copper Branch, you've accomplished something that 90% maybe of entrepreneurs only dream of doing. Like, it's impossible for a lot of people, the level of success that you were able to bring Copper Branch to. So the big question is, how did you do it? Talk to us a little bit about how you were able to create something so iconic, especially in the Montreal area.
Yeah. It's I think it starts in the mind, you know. I just wanted to do it, and I was determined to do it, and I went all in by opening 7 stores on my own in the first 2 years, and seeing how that worked, working out some kinks. And then I said, that's, if we could get that going and the stores could be successful, then we could start franchising. We'll have a good model. And so I put my time and my money on the line for sure. And that's it. So basically it was really a mind game, honestly. It's like being determined that you're going to do something and just sticking with it and finding the best routes.
And what inspired you to start from the get-go with Copper Branch?
Really, after working at Subway, which is a good chain and it's a good fast food chain, but I mean, food is not that great and it's not good for people. As I learned more and more about nutrition, my passion and inspiration was really to help people live a better life through nutrition and food, whole foods mostly. Yeah, and that's what we did with Copper Branch. Like, we weren't allowed to fry anything. It had to be a whole food, organic whenever possible, and I think that's really good for a healthy body and a healthy mind and a healthy planet, ultimately. So
for sure.
We had some big goals,
From the
big
beginning.
ambitions. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we definitely wanted to, change the world in some way.
So because I was thinking, okay, did Rio start when, the first idea was, I want to create something big? Or did it come about and then it just expanded into that?
No, we went in, I went in with the idea of it has to be big or bust. Like, I mean, we're not going in to open 1 or 2 stores, We just don't want to be a mom and pop shop. We want it to be with international influence.
Okay, because in 2 years you did 7 stores. And how many stores did you have in general, like before you sold, which we're going to talk a little bit about later?
Yeah. No, we started with 7, and then we just grew from there. We started franchising, and within 5 years, we grew to about 70.
Wow.
Yeah, about 70 in about 4 countries. Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
It's not all, like the way it sounds. Like, it's not that easy, and we definitely had a big learning curve, and it's there's a lot of challenges.
Do you want to expand a little bit on that, or we can do
We
that?
can if you want.
Yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Like, I mean, going to the U.S., it's you have to understand the market as well, and the competition, and the people, their spending habits, and how they like things, and the marketing is a little different.
Yeah.
So yeah, but business is business in the end, right? I mean, you know, and all entrepreneurs know, like
Yeah.
it's satisfying a need for a consumer at the right price and right conditions, and that's it. So, and you know, going to like Europe was a bit challenging because we had to export some of our recipes.
Okay.
So we had to get some of those manufactured over there because it was just too expensive to fly stuff or whatever. Or we had to remodify some recipes
Okay.
where we could add water or whatever to some of the sauces and reconstitute them at the factory level. So yeah, like we had to reinvent some of those things, which is a normal process for food.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
So it's 100% plant-based, and that's your niche. Did you, by any chance, wanted to, at one point, in the growth curve, say, you know what, maybe we can dilute a little bit or cross-sell by adding a bit less healthy food? Were you ever tempted to do that? Or you just said, this was our mission, we're just going to stick to that niche market?
Yeah, when we hired a new VP and then COVID hit, that's when there's a lot of pressures to do something to stimulate sales or get people to come more often because COVID was extremely challenging. But we tested a few of these things with sort of less health to a certain degree, and it didn't really necessarily change anything. But it was still healthy, and I know now, like after we sold a chain, and I see them. I still, see what they're doing in terms of advertising or new product development. And they tried, like donuts and stuff like that, junky foods.
Yeah.
It doesn't really go with the concept, I think, and people are not really necessarily interested in that. I think if you want junk food, you can pretty much get it anywhere. Yeah, almost really anywhere. It's terrible. It's so available. Yeah. So.
And, okay, so you talk about, so you had a team to do the research for you. Was that somebody external, or was it somebody that was part of your team?
Well, sorry, when you say research, Cathy, you mean like for R&D or?
Well, research in terms of like spices, you going overseas, all these other things. I'm sure somebody is behind that to be able to make sure.
We had the head chef.
Head chef.
Yeah, and he would pretty much with me coordinate everything. We would coordinate everything with our chefs. Yeah, okay. It's not difficult to replicate, in the end, to create recipe or new burger patties. If we can export most of our concept or recipe, it can be done elsewhere.
Okay.
Just have to find the right partners.
And how many employees did you have at one point at
we're
Copper
about
Branch?
like in the office maybe about 15.
15?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then our team of franchisees and all that, but yeah, a head office consists of about 15 people, and some third party.
And talk to us a bit about the culture that you were able to create at Copper Branch.
Yeah, that's so important. The corporate culture. Yeah. So for us, I mean, it's sort of I led the culture by a certain lifestyle and a certain way of thinking about stuff, and it's surprisingly though that we attracted people like that. They came to us. Like we had a lot of great people coming to Copper Branch and wanting to work for us, and because they believed in the mission and the culture. There was definitely something there that inspired them. So that was really interesting. And I was kind of surprised and shocked, too, to see these amazing people at my door, and they were there and offering great services and great thinking, new ways of doing things, and, very open-minded. So that kind of fit with the culture. It wasn't always like that. I mean, we had some people that really didn't fit, and it was poisonous for the company, believe it or not. So I would strongly suggest you monitor that very closely. You want to weed out people who are not part of that culture, because it does kind of like infiltrate some kind of poisonous quality, I think, which is not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a case like that, what do you do? Do you call them into the office and sit them down? How do you go about doing it?
Today, with labor laws, labor standards, it's so difficult because you're probably going to get sued at some point if you don't release someone, especially a higher level executive.
Yeah.
So you have to be very, very careful, and you have to do it gently because they can also sort of scar the company or leave negative comments, So I think, doing it gradually, because it's not their fault ultimately, right? I mean, they're trying to do the best. But if they don't fit that corporate culture,
Yeah.
I really strongly suggest that you sort of kind of weed them out. And so that's how you do it. I mean, you sort of give them a time frame, maybe an evaluation period. That was McDonald's way. When they want to get rid of someone, they used to say, you're not fired yet, but you have 1 month to prove yourself. And after that month, you'd go downstairs and they would whack your head off. It was like known. But that's McDonald's, right?
So you try to take a little, some of their ways of doing things.
Kind of, because, they didn't have to pay any severance. And they got the best out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, sadly, you didn't make it. It happened so often when I was there. I was only there for 1 year, but it was amazing, the stuff you could see there.
A lot of experience from there.
Yeah, it's good.
But you brought up a point. I like the part you said about the attracting employees to come and work for you. So that means at that time, your branding, your message was out there somehow to attract these people to come and work for you. So that was a very good position for you to be in.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And also,
definitely.
What I find is that another mistake we entrepreneurs, I mean, I've made that mistake many times, is that when we have somebody that's good, or we give them more like an executive type of level, we know something is wrong. We can sense it. Like oh, this person is not aligned with my value or anything like that. But sometimes we're a bit afraid to maybe to talk to them on how they can do better, or afraid to let them go because we're like, oh, they've been there for so long, they know so much. How do we let somebody like that go?
Yeah.
We make it a bit more personal.
Yeah, I guess they call that the investment cost, or right? And we're afraid to, But I guess at some point we've got to put on our bootstraps and just do what we have to do.
Yeah.
Right. Ultimately, like life is like that, right? If we don't take that action, I mean, we're going to suffer probably more at some point.
I learned the hard way, that's for sure.
But it's not easy always to finding staff, right? I mean, and then training them, and right, it takes time.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Because you wonder, can I find somebody like that again?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that too.
So you have to, you and your partners have to think about it and evaluate carefully.
We're putting systems now. Yes, for sure, it is like you said. Yes. So what we're doing now is putting systems in place. If this happens, then that happens. This is the course to take. We just follow the system. We evaluate people based on the values we have, and then hopefully we hope for the best with that.
Yeah. You have to try at some point, right?
Exactly.
You don't know until you try. So, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your operation at Copper Branch. I was reading that book last month. It's called Rocket Fuel, and it highlights the synergy between an entrepreneur that's a visionary and then another one that's the integrator or the operator. And when you combine those two forces, they can achieve a lot.
Yeah.
So in your case, did you have somebody like that next to you?
Yeah, I definitely had a couple of good operators to execute on the visions.
Can you elaborate on how important to have somebody like that in a business if we want to grow or scale?
Well, unless you could do it yourself, which I was not really able to. I'm more of the visionary.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would have been very, very difficult. So I think having the executor and the operational people is amazing. Like, it's a good team, like you say. It works really, really well. Yeah, and they like that. That's what they do best, So if everyone does their role best and you could fit those roles, it's definitely good synergy.
So can a company, do you believe that, I think you just answered the question that if they can't do both, then there's no way the company can move forward with that.
Well, it can. It can. If you can do both, you can be the visionary and the executor. I think many people can do that. Many companies, it's efficient, it's good, but if you can't do it all, then you'll need someone to help you execute.
But at the beginning, when I first started, I didn't know there were two distinct roles like that, because I would have the idea, the vision, and then I started to implement it. But then at one point, I always get stuck. I could never bring that idea to a completed version of what I wanted.
Where would you get stuck, for example? Like which part?
Because then I would get diverted to something else because as an entrepreneur, as you know, you have different things that you have, different hats you have to put on sometimes. So when I get stuck, then I said, okay, I'll get back to it later. And then I shift to something else. And then I feel like I'm a starter of different projects. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, oh my God, I have all these projects, but I can't finish them. That's when we decided to hire project managers. And I was like, oh my God.
Okay.
This is
Wow.
it.
Yeah.
This is one of the key ingredients we were missing. With that project manager in place, and now she goes in, she has a timeline on when the project has to be executed. Was it done? She's able to hold people accountable, and we have a sous project manager as well to be able to help her. And now things are a little bit much more easier.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the role of the visionary or the CEO, is to create teams and to create positions that make the company roll and become efficient and could finally bring the vision to fruition, right?
Yeah, I definitely
I mean,
agree with
that's
that.
it. So you have to think of ways to get things done that sometimes are not totally conventional, but, you know, if you have to invent a role or do a role or put someone else, and yeah, that works.
Yeah, to define the
good for you.
roles. That way, the entrepreneur is not stepping in and doing, the
Yeah.
job of the operator.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! All right, so I know you sold a company, Copper Branch, in 2021.
Correct.
What were your emotions, or what was going on with you during that process? Because I don't know, is it selling a home or selling a business? Which one you think is the hardest?
They're both hard, right? When you sell a home, you're attached to it. When you sell your business, you're attached to it. You know, it's everything that you've put into it, right? So for sure, it's sad, and but you know, you wish the best for the company, and you try to distance yourself emotionally a little bit. You sort of become, you know, a little cold, if that's the right way to put it, because otherwise, you know, you'd just be sad forever. I mean, it's, you know, and you can't, right? You have to move on to the next bigger and better thing. Right, that's the way I see it. So yeah, it was while it lived, it was great, and I really had the most fun ever. So like for me, it was really a blast. It was fun.
How long did the process take from when you decided to sell up until it was completed?
It was long. It's really long. It took almost a year.
Wow.
I was surprised and shocked to see how much documentation is involved and how many legal people have to be behind the scenes for this to complete. It's absolutely insane, especially in franchising. It's really a contractual business, right? We deal with franchise agreements. We deal with leases. So everything is a contract. So like there's a lot of legal stuff to make sure that it's in order. I would strongly suggest, though, for any entrepreneur in any business to keep your records as organized as possible. We weren't organized in all our categories. Most of it was. But if you're not organized, it's going to cost you more when you want to exit, if you do. Because
With the accountants or lawyers?
accountants, lawyers, legal work, paperwork, making sure all documents are signed, anything that's out of whack, whatever, takes time to complete and re-verify. So, yeah, it's good to have your, you know, eyes dotted.
What were some of the challenges? I know, you had to fix a few things with your documentations and things like that. But was there any other challenges that you encounter during the process?
Otherwise, no, it's just a straightforward process, you know. It's really based on a formula. It's times earnings, times sales, right? I mean, there's formulas there that you can negotiate around, but those are the parameters. As long as that those formulas are respected and, you know, after the due diligence, the numbers are still fine, yeah, everything goes through, and yeah. It is a straightforward process. I mean, a lot of companies are looking to acquire, to grow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But who did you have to speak with? So you decided, you made the decision, okay, you know what, I'm selling. You made the decision. Then what's next?
Yeah.
What's the next step somebody has to take?
In our case, you know, we sold to a company called Foodtastic.
Yeah.
They're on a growth spur, and they approached us.
Oh, they approach you?
Yeah, they
Okay.
approach us. I mean, they often approach a lot of people. It's not, you know, in this kind of industry, they'll approach you more than you'll approach them.
Okay.
For almost a lot of them, you know. I mean, it could be that in many industries because, you know, there's always someone looking to acquire and grow. So they'll approach you, you know, like look at Microsoft. They're constantly approaching smaller and trying to, you know, gulp up the competition. So are all the high techs, right? I mean, that's what they do. So, you know, I mean, probably in the other guy's mind is they're thinking about getting acquired at some point, but it happens sooner rather than later. So because of the COVID, we thought it was the timing was optimal.
Okay.
Yeah, so we took that decision to they had a lot more firepower and everything, and so it could have been good for the franchisees because ultimately we really care about the franchisees. They invested a lot of their money in building stores and running the businesses, so it's definitely it was a tough time for sure in our industry.
For sure, I agree. A
Yeah.
lot of businesses
A lot.
went out of business.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to selling, there's a statistic out there that says 87% of businesses will never be sold. But why do you think some, I don't know, entrepreneurs would like to sell their businesses?
Well,
What
we're
are some of
talking
the
about
reasons?
a larger business or a small
Yeah,
business?
I would say small business to large or medium. Yeah.
Yeah. Why would they want to sell?
Yeah.
Well, if there's a change in conditions,
Mm-hmm.
that could be a good opportunity. Sometimes in your head, you go in with the idea that at a certain point, I would like to exit
Yeah.
and make some money or, or maybe the conditions of the business may change and you want to offer it to someone else who can do it better, perhaps. Or, I think, it's a personal reason mostly, But I mean, if the offer is good enough and, it works, that's a good reason.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Unless you think you could grow it further, So, yeah, you have to take all that into consideration.
So, as an entrepreneur, would you suggest that it's a good idea, like when things are good, things are running smoothly, do we still have to think about an exit strategy or set up the business in a way that if it comes to that, then we're ready to sell?
I think, you should have an idea about your exit strategy in any business. But at the same time, I mean, if you love your business and you're making money with your business and you could, foresee the challenges upcoming
Yeah.
and you think you'll be able to conquer them and move forward still, then, maybe you don't want to sell your business, right?
Just
you
have
keep
people
growing
managing.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, you keep growing the team.
exactly.
Of course, the business will always need to be managed somehow. But yeah.
When food static, what is did I say it properly?
Foodtastic? Yes. Yeah.
When they approach you, was there any particular key factor they were looking for, or any acquirer for that matter? What are some of the key things that they look for, key components they look for?
Yeah, these are pretty large companies, these guys, and they want to grow fast. So they look for moats or opportunities. Growth, is the company going to grow? They look at maybe the current management. They look at if they're able to replicate and make it consistent. So they look at, I think the most thing is they're going to look at the base numbers, and then they're going to look at future growth. Yeah, so it's obviously has to have, I think, that to make sense for them. Otherwise, there's no point.
So would that apply to other small businesses as well?
Yeah, absolutely. To any business. Yeah. If you want to buy any business, I mean, you want to make sure you maintain the sales or even grow your network of sales, right? Yeah.
Can you please define what's an exit strategy for those listening? You're like, what is an exit strategy?
Well, when you start a business, at some point you're going to say, maybe, my business has a strong and big valuation, and I'd like to get out and maybe retire or do something else with my time or whatever. I can make, some money because I built a nice business. And so that's an exit strategy, basically. It's thinking of how, at what point, if you reach there, you'll sell it to someone else and they'll keep operating and growing the business.
And who normally puts that in place, the exit strategy for a business owner?
Probably the owners, the CEO or the management team.
That will, no need to involve the lawyers at that point to say, okay.
Lawyers?
Or accountant?
No, it's really in your own head.
Okay.
Yeah. And, just making sure your paperwork and everything is going to be ready for when that happens, as it grows.
And what are some of the pros and cons? Because sometimes you can, keep some shares in the company even if you sell.
Yeah.
Or sometimes the owner might just say, you know what, I just want to get rid of it, 100% gone.
Yeah.
Or keep some shares. What are some of the pros and cons, would you say?
Well, if you want to stay in your business, you could definitely stay involved and keep some of the shares. I think most companies would be, really open to that, and they encourage that because, you could sort of transition the management, the thinking, the philosophy, the culture you bring it forward. So I think that's a really good thing for the acquirer to have.
Okay.
And for you, it's really a personal choice. I mean, do you want to still be involved or not? Because obviously you may not have the same control or direction that you had previously when you were running the whole thing. And it's all negotiated, basically. So honestly, it's whatever you want, And it's really open both ways. You could have it, you could stay involved with or without shares, or you could not. You could just exit fully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there, I don't know if you want to share some stories of something that you wish you knew during the whole process of selling, but you didn't know that you want to tell us to watch out for? Or I don't know, maybe it was something good.
Well, I think you should try to sell, if you're going to sell, when your earnings are at their peak.
At their peak.
Yeah, I think that's when you're going to get the most valuation because that's how basically it's calculated. So, yeah, try to sell when it's at your peak if you're going to sell. And then, that's what most companies do. And unfortunately, some publicly traded companies even fake their peak sometimes. They create sales or do accounting practices which are sort of in the gray zone, and it makes it look like. So if they don't pick that up sometimes, and many companies do not, you could get more money for sure. So, yeah, I think that's, if you're going to sell, don't sell on a downtrend. I mean, try to sell on an uptrend. Yeah.
Same thing with a house, when the market is, the demand is low, that's not when you want to try to sell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, when things are rolling really good, that's when you could get the biggest bang for the buck.
Mm-hmm. But based on your experience, have you seen, what are some of the mistakes you think people make when they're trying to sell, or have you heard? Do you know any of...
mistakes when they try to sell?
Yeah, when they're trying to sell, yeah. Some mistakes maybe to avoid or pitfalls that they have to watch out for. Yes, you have to sell it at the peak, when the company's at the peak.
If you want more money, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, but sometimes, let's say you don't, some companies don't do well, so there is no peak. So at some point you try to get what you can, then you salvage, so that's something else though.
Trying to salvage to get whatever. Because sometimes not the person, maybe the son or the daughter, family members, they don't necessarily want the business to be passed down.
Yeah.
So that could be a reason as well. In your case, is that something you were envisioning, or?
No. We just thought, it was a good opportunity to get out. And, and we had many, many, many challenges in front of us with the COVID. And, we did lose about 30% of the network with the COVID. Yeah, because there's just no business. So, thinking that it would, that's a good time. Yeah, so that's why we took the decision to do so.
So let me bring you back to, I don't know, the office. You had to go and sign. I don't know if it was electronically or you had to go and then sign the paper. That's it. The deal is done. When you walked out of that door, how did you feel? Like, what went through your mind?
Well, it was a year of signing documents, so it didn't really feel like
that. It was not a final one.
I was signing documents, from DocuSign all the time, even while driving sometimes. I mean, this has to be signed now, today. Can't wait tomorrow. No, it's got, So the final signature was just another signature. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like, like when someone's, it's going to happen. It's just, there's a big process to go through. Yeah.
But did you feel relieved?
But I felt good once it was all done and said and done. Sure, of course, it was a big relief. A lot of people in the sidelines and in the back area fixing all this and we're making it work.
Yeah.
A lot of lawyers. I was so surprised, Yeah, big legal fees like for this thing.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a lot of legal fees. Lawyers are expensive.
Definitely. There's no doubt about that. People say that all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're done. You sold the companies. What are you up to now? What do you want to do?
Yeah, so I took about a year sabbatical just to relax and travel a little bit and get my mind in order to see what I want to do next. And so finally, I decided to start a company called Real Food Love, which kind of follows the same philosophy as before. It's we spoke to like hundreds of people and talking to them about their health challenges and their health issues and weight loss and all this stuff, and basically a lot of people have trouble. And it boils down, in my opinion, to a form of food addiction, which is, refined flours, sugars, fats, salt. And everyone is just surrounded with that all the time. So what do we do to try to get that, less? So that's why, we're creating products under Real Food Love that makes you love real food more. It's really simple, If we eat healthier food, like an apple or whatever, it's definitely a better alternative than a candy bar.
Yes.
Right? It's, but it's not intuitive. And the candy bar, sort of has alarm bells going on when we think about it in our head, because it releases all that wonderful dopamine, makes us feel so good.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge for everyone, So that's what I'm working on now. And we're actually designing a nice line of dessert teas.
Okay.
Delicious functional dessert teas that is under the brand name called Skip the Cake.
Skip the cake.
And
That's a nice
you'll
name.
look for it. Yeah. And I think it's going to be amazing because they taste so good and really delicious, and they really curb your cravings for sugar and whatever. And they're bold, and they're bold teas. Yeah, very bold, because to compete with cake.
So you're doing this here in Montreal?
Yeah, we're launching here, but we plan to sell across North America for now. Okay. Yeah, through retail and e-commerce.
So when is the launch, let's say?
The launch?
Yeah.
I'd say within another 2 months.
Another 2 months?
We should be launching. Yeah, we have our website up and everything already.
Okay.
We're selling one product that we're sort of testing the waters with. Yeah, and we're making some modifications. So we wanted to just launch one thing to try it.
Okay.
Yeah, and now we're...
And you have a manufacturing plant here, or?
We're using third-party contractors.
Okay.
We're working with a U.S. company that manufactures, imports all of our teas.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're working on other products, some of them locally here. We're working with Gogo Quinoa. I'm not sure if you know them.
No, I've never
Gogo
heard.
Quinoa, yeah, they're a big quinoa producer, and they're making a cauliflower wing mix for us. Yeah, it's you just add water and you throw in your cauliflowers or other veggies, and they come nice and crispy in the oven. So
well, that's a good route
more
to.
Veggies.
That's nice, because building your own plant would be
next step.
Oh,
yeah.
That's the next step.
Yeah. Within 3 years, once things start rolling, I would definitely build a plant where we could assemble our own teas and package them ourselves. It would definitely be cheaper and easier to handle.
For sure.
Yeah.
But that's exciting.
Yeah, I think it is. You know, let's knock on wood that everything goes to plan, right?
So now, what's your vision for this one? Okay, I know already you want to go international. That's for sure. The U.S. You mentioned that.
Yeah.
But how big you want this to be?
Well, I'd like to do $100 million within maybe 6-7 years of sales, and where we're going to innovate. That's the thing. I mean, if any of your listeners want to partake or pitch in with some ideas, I'd be very, very open, because I think it's all about the innovation. I just don't want to be a products company. Maybe have some kind of digital solutions as well at some point, or anything else that can help the consumer to with our mission. Yeah, and it's but you could be a products company as well. A food products. It's there's.
But innovation is big. That's you can.
I love innovation. I think it's important.
For sure.
For everyone to grow, right? Mm-hmm. Anything could be innovated.
Yes.
And we are, as our species, we're doing great, I think.
And now we just have AI.
Yeah.
So.
Isn't that amazing? Does that frighten you at all, or?
Right now, I try to not think about the frightening part. I'm just trying to look at the benefits at the moment.
Yeah.
That helps us accelerate, especially in our content creation, that part. So that's going to be, this is huge for us in that regard, for sure. Mm-hmm. But I'm excited for you, Rio. This is great.
Thank you.
Because now when you wake up in the morning, you jump out of bed. You're like, let's. Yeah. I don't know. You have your team already ready.
It's a small team. I work with my son Andrew. Mm-hmm. He helped me with Copper Branch. We started
marketing
together. Yeah, we're very different, which is complementary. I think it's good. Mm-hmm. There's diversification there, diversity. Yeah, he's definitely more of an analytical thinker, and I'm more of a free spirit. So, together that could possibly work.
Yeah,
but it's frustrating at times. You must know being in your own business. Yeah.
It's like, hold on, Dad, hold on. Let's do this one first before we move on to the next project.
Yeah, it's not always hold on. It could be worse. Yeah. But it's good. It's all good.
So you had to figure out the packaging and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. And that's always ongoing, right?
It's always ongoing. So in 2 months, I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Which stores are you going to be in?
We'll probably be in Marcheteau locally here. Maybe
Avril?
Rachel Berry. Yeah.
Avril as well. Like there
I'm not
was
sure
one in
about
Laval.
Avril. Yeah, I think Rachel Berry would.
Chaleur, okay.
Yeah, a couple of stores and online, for sure.
Oh, online too.
Yeah,
So we
online.
ordered online and then it gets delivered.
Yeah, we'll be on Amazon and we have our own website already up under Real Food Love.
Perfect. I will check that
Yeah.
out after.
Awesome. Great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Montreal, we have a lot of great business owners here. Huh?
We do. Yeah, we have a lot of smart, inspirational people
Yeah.
everywhere, though, right? No?
Yes, but yes, we
Yeah.
can say that. But I see a lot in Montreal. Like we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And what are some books that you like, Rio, that you would recommend business owners that, these are the books that they should read or made a difference for you in your life?
Yeah, I think any business books. Right now I'm reading Berkshire Hathaway University.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good book if you want to invest and understand corporations at a higher level. I like, Gladwell,
Okay.
Maxwell Gladwell. I think he's great with his ideas. But basically, I'm constantly reading, all the time. Like I have Audible in my car, and I love those books, And for me, it's business books or entrepreneurship books that I like. Pretty much all of them, I like biographies a lot. I recently completed Steve Jobs, which was excellent. Lululemon,
Yeah.
yeah, he was really good as well. Yeah, and you sort of get the sense of their characters, when you get the biographies, what you're doing right or maybe what you're doing wrong. So as an entrepreneur, it could be like a guidance system, I think. Yeah, and Elon Musk was much more fascinating than I could have expected.
Yeah.
I never thought the guy would be like that. I mean, when you read his biography, it's incredible. Yeah, he's an amazing person. Yeah, and it's not evident. I mean, I just you don't know.
Well, I think I think it's evident because
is,
he's done so many things. He's
Yeah.
a brilliant person. When I see him in interviews, giving speeches, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you know what? This guy knows what he's talking about. Yes, but the book, I think I'll check it out.
Yeah,
now.
that's great. It's really interesting. Yeah, all the nitty gritty stuff.
Very like he goes into the details for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely a detailed guy.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And how do you stay motivated? I know you do a lot of reading, so in your car, I don't know, do you have physical books as well?
Yes, some
And you
physical books.
What's your routine like? Like you wake up, you...
I read a little bit before going to bed sometimes, but not always. Less and less now. I don't know. The physical books have sort of started to dissipate. I'm sad to say, but I mean, it's.
Yes.
I'd like to bring them more back. But yeah, if I do some reading, it'll just be before bed. Otherwise, I go to the gym almost daily, and so I'll listen to my audiobooks there
Okay.
in the car, and yeah, that's it. And I make time during the day for courses and stuff as well.
Okay,
I
that's
follow
good.
Coursera. I like Coursera a lot for business administration courses.
So
and
always learning.
entrepreneurship. Yeah, I just love it. It's a passion.
Yes.
It's not work for me to learn. It really is wonderful. Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
And so I guess that keeps you motivated, or do you have some other things that you do that keeps your momentum going?
Yeah, that's motivation is a tough thing. It's hard sometimes. I'm not motivated every day. There's some days that are dark and gloomy, and it looks like everything's falling apart. For example, right?
Yeah.
But there's a better day coming, and you have to sort of learn to manage your emotional states sometimes, your thinking process and all that. And yeah, sometimes do something that makes you happy when you're not super motivated, or read some inspirational literature. I do have an app called Pep Talk.
Okay.
It's called Pep Talk. Yeah, it's really good. It's got all this inspirational stuff out there, and that helps sometimes when you need a little push. Right?
There's a quote that says, "Motivations never shows up when you need it."
Yeah.
Because discipline is what's going to keep you on task.
But that's a challenging question too. I mean, how do you stay disciplined?
Yeah, that's a whole other subject. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that could be another talk at another time.
Yeah.
It could be an important one.
It is an important one.
Yeah.
Because I find without discipline,
No, you got to do the work somehow.
yeah. Because in business, yes, there's a tiny portion of it that's very exciting, especially the part that we like to do. But then the rest, the accounting, the following up with, I don't know, suppliers, leads, all these things that we don't want to do that are very repetitive. They're very crucial to the business, so it's success. But sometimes we don't want to do them.
Yeah.
But then that's where the delegation part comes in, pass those things on. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's okay if you don't like to do all these things. As long as you're at the point where you can delegate it, it's great.
Yeah.
Then you could just oversee that. It's so much easier.
Exactly. But I find that the entrepreneur has to have an idea of what's involved. Like, can I look at the balance sheet and and then see where we're at? Like you have an idea of what's going on, not just be blind and you're like, okay, what am I looking at?
Yeah, you have to have a good idea of what's going on. Really, it's important. Yeah.
And if you could go back a few decades and speak with yourself when you were at 30, what would you say to Rio back then?
Try to know what your dreams, your passions are in life, and just plan for that, and then keep learning, and don't give up. On your dreams. I think you should live your dream.
Live your dream.
Yeah, live your dream. Try to find out what it is, and don't be scared to live your dream because it's all possible.
Did you feel like back then you were a bit scared to do that, or?
I was not knowledgeable. I had to learn. I mean, it's a long learning curve, Some people do it earlier. I think I did it a little later. I'm still trying to do it.
Yeah.
So at what point do we get there? There's a lot of psychological stuff, though, that has to be worked out.
Yeah.
Like you say, the discipline, the motivation, the vision.
But people would say, listening to you, they'd be like, well, Rio, you've built the dream, that's for sure. It looks like you've reached a level that most people will not. What do you say to that?
Really? I think it's a tiny, tiny little dream. It's like one pinky. No, really. It's nothing. Anyone could do it if they want to. We're all the same, right? We just have to be inspired, motivated, and have the ambition to do it. That's it.
That's all it takes.
Yeah, and a little risk. You got to put, a little bit of stuff on the line. So you have to try to manage your risk, feel comfortable. I know some people, they want to do it, but they're afraid because of the risk or the money if they lose everything. And, I mean, I do have some of that as well. But I look at these big entrepreneurs like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs. I mean, they had put everything on the line. Elon Musk, for example, he had $200 million that he got from his previous business. And he was in $205 million. He couldn't even meet his payroll. He could have just sat at home with $200 million and had a nice life. But that wasn't good enough for him. So it becomes complex, right? It's aspirations and dreams in the end.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Because of fear, I find, is what holds up people a lot. Yes, they think about it. I want to do this, but then... maybe they have a plan B. They're like, maybe they have a job and they don't want to lunch if they want to start a business, that is. And fear.
Should be another podcast, Cathy. Next one. Because fear is a killer.
Yes.
It's a killer of all dreams.
Yeah.
It really is.
I like that. The way you put it.
Yeah.
Killer of all dreams.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. And what do you like about the city of Montreal, Rio? Since the podcast is called the Montreal Entrepreneur Podcast, what do you like about the city?
I like the old part of the city. I like the history. I like the cultures, the multicultural part of Montreal. I think it's a smart city. I think the multicultural brings a lot of diversity and it makes things so much better. And I think there's... the history that we've preserved, and it's good. I actually also like the French. I mean, I'm okay with that. It's different, so it's distinct from the rest of Canada, although I'm mostly Anglophone myself, but I don't mind it. Yeah.
Well, I'm up for I speak 4 languages, but the more I think people learn languages, I think it's a good thing. Yeah. Your brains, it's like candy for the brain. The more you learn.
Can I know what languages you're speaking?
Well, I speak Creole, I speak English, French, and Spanish.
Wow.
I think that was 4.
Okay. And I'm learning Spanish, believe it or
that's
not.
Good.
Yeah, it's been 2 years
Bueno.
now. Sí. Hablamos en español ahora.
Italian I wanted to learn. I think that would be like the next Latin language because it sounds so nice.
Yeah.
But eventually, but not now. Yeah.
And what's your motivation to learn languages? Is it like
I think it's a good thing.
Like
because
a hobby?
when I was in Haiti, we moved to another island where they speak English, and I didn't speak English. So then my dad decided, you know what, we're staying. I'm like, oh, whoa. So they put all of us in an English school. So not only we had to learn English, but then we had to also study. So simultaneously, we're studying, we're learning English. So it was a challenge. So
Yeah.
my kids, I speak to them in Creole because I want them to learn more languages. Because people will be like, oh, you're speaking to them in Creole.
Yeah.
They're not going to learn French. I said, don't worry. It happened to me. I did fine. I speak French. I speak English now. So they'll don't worry. They'll learn French because they go to school in French. So they learn English. They speak 3 languages right now.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's great for the mind.
Yes, for sure. So if we could summarize our discussion, Rio, what is how would you do it? What would you say? Last word of wisdom or sentence?
I just think if you want to be an entrepreneur, you should just, live the dream and do what you want to do. It's all possible. And just keep learning and do what you're so passionate about. Just live your passions, because that's really what life is all about, in my opinion. It's it has to do with love. If we love and we love what we do, it's the essence of the whole universe.
It doesn't even feel like it's working.
Yeah, it's not working. It's more of a spiritual thing, perhaps.
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree.
and you contribute to some extent to mankind, to society, and that's a good feeling.
Perfect. Well, Rio, it was really nice to have you on the show.
Thank you, Cathy. It's nice to be here. Thank you so much.
Until next time.
Yes, great. Thank you.